Hello, Leo. Thank you very much for tuning into this week's read. For the main part of the read, I'm using the Bonefire Tarot by Gabby Angus West. For supportive oracle cards, Chakra Wisdom oracle cards, and they're by Tori Hartman, illustrated by Gretchen. There's her last name right after that, in case you want to look those up. You know what? I'm actually going to start with the tarot cards. Okay, Leo. Okay. It's an interesting ending. We'll see where that's going. Okay, so it feels like something's being dragged out a little bit here. When you're coming into the situation, I feel like it's already off the rails a little bit. Like something isn't right here. Something is already not right, and it's like when you got justice and mysticism coming in right off the bat, it's kind of like I don't know how this is gonna work out, but this isn't gonna work because something is really off here, and you're like, the way it looks is kind of like it's off the track. Like the train is off the tracks, and you're like nobody can look at that and be like that's okay. Nobody can look at the situation and say that's all right. Like this is so far off the rails. Like this can't keep going this way. It's obviously not going to make it. And you got justice here with the mysticism. Like it's just so wacky. It's just so off balance that it's like I don't know how it's going to work out, but obviously something has to be done. And then that's the simple part of that. Just like that's how it's like that's how this situation where I'm coming into it. That's how that feels. Like this is so off the rails. It's obvious that this can't keep going. I don't know how it's going to be corrected, but it's obvious something has to happen, and other people are not going to be able to put up with this. There's just no way. And I feel like you might have to be the one who's kind of like pointing this out, like calling the authorities almost, like, hello, train is off the tracks. Whose train is it? I don't know. Amtrak? Okay, let me call them then, I guess. You don't want to do it? I guess I'll do your job for you. That's fine. Hey, Amtrak, your train way off the rails, way off the rails. So, the discovery is like, I almost feel like you're not trying to be the whistleblower, but it's almost kind of like, how can you not see that? It's almost like you're talking to people like, how can you not see that? This is really wacky. This is way off base, way off base. Again, I don't know how, you don't see how they're going to fix it, but you're just like, it obviously can't stay that way. That's really messed up. So, I feel like you're letting people know. The energy in the beginning is very simple, yet also very aggravated. Just kind of like, this is ridiculous. So you let the appropriate people know, you're just like, I didn't think I was the whistleblower, but apparently I am. Like, you didn't see that was really whacked out? Like, you didn't get that. You didn't? Okay. Then you didn't, I guess. It's really annoying, though. It's just kind of like, it's so far off base. You're like, how could people not see that? Nothing happens. The Hanged Man. The trick with the Hanged Man is can't live that way. You can't live a life like that. They'll stay like that for a little while, but at some point they're going to have to come undone from that situation. Like at some point they're going to have to be released from this situation. But the first thing you're noticing is like nothing. Like nothing's happening. The train's still off the tracks, way off the rails here. It's off the rails. That's not right. That nobody's showing up. Nobody's coming to take care of this. Like, what is the deal? And you are not happy about this. You're just kind of like, why did I even bother saying anything, I guess? Like, I can't fix this. I don't know what to do with that. Like, there's nothing like, what do you want me to do with this? I don't have any idea how to fix this mess. Nobody's coming? Like, it's really getting aggravating. Like, you're getting really annoyed. Like, this is really wrong. This is very, very, very wrong. This needs to be fixed. Why isn't anybody fixing it? I've done my part. I didn't even realize nobody knew. I don't know how they didn't. But then I make sure they know, and they're still ignoring it? Like, what's the problem? What's going on in this situation is really weird. Like, other people are trying to figure out what to do with it. this is a very weird card for this situation because it says soulmate, but if you look at the picture, there's a very strong third eye reference on the hand, on the forehead, the way that that one face is coming off the side like a thought bubble, the swirls, like the soulmate card reminds me of the lover's card, which is also it has a dual meaning of like passing the test, like doing what's right. And I feel like people are coming together and trying to figure out what to do, and they're trying to, it's almost like they're assessing how it happened and like what do we need to do to stop any more problems from happening before they pick up the mess, before they go and fix the train that went off the rails. They're stopping anything else from adding into the mess. You know what I mean? It's almost like there's more trains coming, but if they don't stop those first, it's going to complicate and compound the problem a lot more. So when soulmate is coming in the environment, it's almost like, I really feel like they're doing the right thing, you have no idea that what they're doing is they're stopping other problems from folding in and creating a bigger mess. It's still aggravating, but I'm getting, like, that's what they're telling me with this card. Especially with that third eye reference on there. Like, they're like, oh boy, wait a minute, there's more trains coming, we gotta stop that, we gotta back this off, we gotta shut this down, we gotta shut down this track. But it's gonna get worse, it's gonna get a lot worse. You're not seeing this though. Like, the communication isn't coming to you, not that it would anyway, but that's why that's happening at this point. Finally, finally the mess does start to get cleaned up. Whatever the problem is, people are starting to pick it up, okay? The dissipating is kind of like, it's being taken care of. Like, that hanged man feeling is moving on. I don't feel like you have a hand in the cleanup. I don't feel it anyway, but I see, like, you're noticing it's happening. I'm seeing a lot of devastation in the environment here. This was a situation that was very, very wrong. And I'm getting there's a lot of problems, there's a lot of fallout, the way it was handled probably wasn't the best. People did what they could. Like, even you were looking at this like, I don't know what you're going to do to fix it, but you let people know it was happening. And then they just did their best, and there's a lot of fallout. The Ten of Swords is in the environment, there's a lot of fallout. But once it starts getting picked up, there's nothing left for you to do, and I feel like that's when you move on. You move on with the World card. It's kind of like, all right, I did what I could do, I don't know what else you want from me, so I gotta go. There's nothing left for me here. You all know, I made sure you knew, I see you're picking it up, all right, that's your ball, I gotta move on. I don't work for Amtrak. I gotta go. Bye. So, it's almost like the situation that lingers. It's kind of like you did the best you could with it. Now, the Ten of Cups are here is like, you did what you could. The situation, it ended with the Ten of Swords, but the reason you have the Ten of Cups is kind of like, it wasn't your fault. You did what you could to bring attention to it. You kept an eye on it, mostly out of annoyance, but you did. And then somebody else took care of it, but you don't have any guilt. And I feel like that's why the Ten of Cups is here. There's no reason for you to have guilt about it. There's nothing bad for you. You left it. It was time for you to leave it. The situation ended badly, whatever it was, but it had nothing to do with, I don't feel like it was your fault. I feel like you just kind of had to tell somebody about it, like, hey, this isn't right. And then you tried to like put some pressure on it, like, hello, pick that up. Take care of it. So I feel like when you're leaving it, you got some more positive energy. You got the Empress card here. Like, all right. But the Empress card it's a tricky card because it's kind of like, even though the situation's over, you don't have any guilt from it. You still are connected to it. In some respect, you're still connected to it. And it means something to you how it got cleaned up afterwards. And it's like, yeah, it was a very devastating moment. It didn't really go the best. But now, what are they doing to prevent it from happening again? I feel like you're involved in that in some way. You're like, well, now what? What are you doing to make sure that doesn't happen again? What are you doing to make sure that all this devastation doesn't happen again? And it's like you're keeping track of it because you were involved in this part. You feel connected to it. You're just like, I want to make sure this doesn't happen again. Like, put together a plan. Do something to make sure that doesn't happen, or at the very least, have a better plan to handle it if it ever happens again. Do something. And I feel like you're pushing that on other people, like, I need you to do something about this because it bothers me. you're still emotionally connected to it. You're just kind of like, you're just kind of reacting, kind of like, no, you need to do something to make sure either A doesn't happen again, or A and B. The B would be having a plan already ready to, like, if this happens again, this is what you do and this is how you handle it. So you probably want both from them. Making sure it doesn't happen again, but if it does happen again, having a backup plan, like, what do you need to do about it? Because it was a shit show. Is what I'm getting. That's what I'm getting. It was bad. Didn't go well. You got the magician in the environment, and you got the faith in the... Well, you got the faith in the environment, but the magician is in the environment too. You're inspiring other people to take action and create something, to either create a situation where this doesn't repeat, or at least isn't as likely to repeat. And also, I feel like you were very much impressing on these people, like, you need to have a plan together. You need to know what to do if something like this happens. You should not just be kind of like looking at each other, blinking eyes, like, oh, now what? Now what? Uh-oh, something's not right. Now what? Like, you need to have a plan. Somebody has to break down something. Somebody has to come together and, like, this is what needs to happen. This is how things will have to be cleaned up. You know what I mean? Some type of outline. It may not be like a word-for-word situation, but there should be some type of outline. Like, first thing, stop anything else from coming in. Second thing, take care of the people that have got hurt. Third thing, clean up the mess. You know, stuff like that. This is where you will leave the situation. Because that will be, like, even though the world here was first, kind of like you tried to get away from it, you're kind of, like, the situation ended and it wasn't your fault how it ended. When you see that the plan is literally there, or you feel like it's been taken care of correctly, I feel like that's the completion of the situation, and that's when it kind of goes in the past. It's interesting for me because I see the world coming in first, kind of like you're stepping out of the situation. You're not physically in it anymore. Physically, your hands are not touching things. You're not physically there. So I'm feeling like when you have this Empress card after the fact, this is like communication from you after, kind of like it concerns you, and you're communicating. You're not physically involved, but you're communicating after. And the completion is like that's the finishing of the world. That's the finishing of this situation. Kind of like, if this happens again, people need to be more on point. After that, I feel like people are thankful for the connection you had with it, the fact that you gave a crap, the fact that you actually kept on it, the fact that you actually pushed forward, like, this needs to go better. People are thankful for it. I also feel like it very much bothers you that, like, you don't have faith in this situation. But you're like, you have the Eight of Swords and the Five of Pentacles saying you're out of it. There's nothing left here for you to do. There's nothing here for you to do now. You're outside of the situation. There's nothing else for you to do. You can't police it. You have the need to. You kind of want to. It's kind of left on a wing and a prayer at this point. Because you literally get the prayer card. You just got to hope it's going to go better from here. Because I don't feel like you can physically do... You can't physically do or communicate anything to make it better at this point. It's just you did what you could. You got to be thankful for that and just let it go. Like, I feel like you literally have to let it go. It's interesting because Leos are really typically good at letting things go. But I feel like the reason is you still want to be involved. You want to step in there and make sure it's done right, and you can't. And to you, it was a very significant blunder. Like, you're almost like looking at this like, what are these yahoos doing? Like, how are they making it? How can they... You're like, I don't even know how these people can step out the front door without tripping over themselves. Like, it's that messed up. For some reason, like, and I don't think that's normal for Leo energy. You really are... You can't let it go. And it's kind of like you have to find a way to make peace with it. For some reason, you have to make peace with it, and it's difficult. But that's basically what this whole thing's about. Like, just making peace with it, knowing you did the best you could. Your connection with this was very needed and warranted. You pushed forth the energy you could. You pushed forth the need for things to be better. But once it's done, it's like realizing that you did your part. You did what was necessary. And just to come to peace with it. I feel like it's hard for you to come to peace with it, which is interesting. Alright, I think that's it. I'm going to shut this down here. I hope that helps. Thank you for watching. If you'd like a direct reading from me, shoot me an email, jamesforastral@gmail.com. That's James, the number 4, astral@gmail.com. Thank you.